Not every person who smiles at you wants the best for you. And the worst, some of the most dangerous people are disguised as friends, colleagues, even family members. I know this sounds controversial, but take a minute and think. Why do you keep getting hurt in certain relationships? The answer may be counterintuitive, but it is liberating. There are people who live to manipulate, control, and fuel conflict. Today, I'm going to show you 5 clear signs that reveal when you're dealing with such a person. And the best part, by the end of this video, you will not only recognize these pitfalls, but you will also know exactly how to protect yourself from them. Bad people are hiding in plain sight. It's uncomfortable to admit, but not all people have good intentions. The world is full of malice and manipulation, and many of these people do not carry evident signs of what they really are. They smile, speak well, and behave in a seemingly normal manner, which makes the use of discernment essential. The Bible already warned about this. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Matthew 7:15. Just as Jesus taught about wolves in sheep's clothing, we need to be mindful of what lies beyond appearances. One of the most evident characteristics of these people is the pleasure they feel when sowing discord and conflict. The book of Proverbs describes this reality well. A wicked man stirs up contention, and a slanderer separates his greatest friends. Proverbs 16:28. These people manage to live in constant confrontation, creating friction in all the environments they frequent. Whether in the family, at work, or among friends, their presence always results in disagreements. Therefore, maintaining limits is essential. It does not mean abandoning compassion, but rather preserving your peace. In addition, these people often feed on envy and resentment. They can't stand to see others happy or successful. The Bible teaches us that envy is destructive. For where envy and self-righteousness are, there is confusion and every perverse work. James 3:16. If you notice someone constantly criticizing other people's achievements, be careful. Often, this indicates a soul full of selfishness and unable to celebrate the good in others. The best thing to do is to keep a healthy distance. These people also possess a special ability to deceive. They promise a lot, but deliver little. They are masters at creating a false sense of trust. The word warns us, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals, 1 Corinthians 15:33. It is vital to be aware of empty promises and incoherent attitudes. Those who act with integrity are always accompanied by actions that match their words. Finally, the biggest danger lies in the fact that these people live around us, often without being noticed. They are where we least expect them, and therefore it is essential to seek discernment. Jesus also warned us, be wise as serpents and simple as doves. Matthew 10:16. Prudence is the key to dealing with situations in which evil is camouflaged. And while it's important to recognize these signs, there are other, even clearer behaviors that help identify malicious intent. Constant conflicts with other people. There are people who seem to be always involved in disagreements, and this is not by chance. They have an ongoing pattern of generating conflict in their relationships, whether at home, at work, or among friends. The Bible describes this kind of behavior well. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Matthew 5:9. When someone constantly lives in quarrels and disputes, this is a sign that they do not possess the inner peace that comes from God. Keeping your distance from those who create discord is necessary to protect your emotional and spiritual health. In addition, people who constantly generate conflicts often act maliciously, masking their true intentions. At first, they may seem lovable, but when you observe how they treat others, their real nature is revealed. Proverbs teaches, an angry man stirs up strife, but a man who is slow pacifies a fight. Proverbs 15:18. Pay attention to someone's relationship history. If there is a sequence of broken friendships, family disagreements, and problems at work, it can indicate toxic behavior. Another important point is that people like this usually feel uncomfortable with the success of others. They envy the happiness of others and often try to sabotage the well-being of those around them. The Bible warns against envy. Do not envy a violent man, nor choose any of his ways. Proverbs 3:31. Envy is a bitter root that destroys both those who feel it and those around them. To protect yourself, set clear boundaries and don't allow their negativity to influence your life. These people also have a hard time taking responsibility for their mistakes. When confronted, they prefer to blame others or act as victims. A typical example is that co-worker who, by causing a problem, shifts responsibility to others. Proverbs offers good advice on how to handle this kind of situation. Cast out the scoffer, and strife will go. Strife and shame will cease. Proverbs 22:10. Avoid getting involved in unnecessary discussions and don't get carried away by provocations. Constant conflict drains our energy and undermines our peace of mind. People who are constantly creating problems usually do so to exert some kind of control over others. In many cases, moving away is the best solution. The Bible gives us wise advice. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, have peace with all men. Romans 12:18. This means that, although we must seek peace, it will not always be possible to maintain it with those who feed on conflicts. In this case, it is legitimate to protect yourself and preserve your emotional balance. Finally, remember, it is not your role to change these people, but rather to protect your own peace. If you notice that someone in your life follows this pattern of behavior, the first step is to recognize the signs and act prudently. But conflicts are not the only sign of danger. Some people use an even more subtle and dangerous strategy: manipulation, manipulative behavior. Manipulation is one of the most subtle and destructive forms of control. Manipulative people act in a calculated manner, exploiting the trust of others to achieve their goals, without worrying about the impact of their actions. They know how to promise what they never intend to fulfill, creating a false sense of security. The Bible already warns us about this type of behavior. All speak the truth with your neighbor, for we are members of one another. Ephesians 4:25. Those who manipulate, however, avoid the truth, preferring to deceive to obtain advantages. One of the favorite weapons of manipulators is guilt. They have a special ability to turn situations around and make you feel responsible for what you are not. Imagine that friend who, when confronted for something wrong he did, turns the tables and makes you feel bad for having spoken the truth. Proverbs teaches us, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1. In situations like this, staying calm and not giving in to emotional manipulation is essential to avoid being controlled by those who act in bad faith. Another clear sign of manipulation is when someone creates an emotional debt in you. They do small favors or gestures that are later excessively charged. It is that person who constantly reminds you of what he has already done for you, expecting something in return. The Bible guides us not to act with ulterior motives. Whatever you do, do it from the heart, as to the Lord, and not to men. Colossians 3:23. Genuine favors don't come with hidden charges, and learning to distinguish between a sincere act and an attempt at manipulation is key to maintaining healthy relationships. Manipulative people also use praise and criticism strategically. They know exactly when to inflate their ego and when to lower their self-esteem in order to keep it emotionally dependent. When you start to question yourself too much about your decisions and feel like you're never living up to that person's expectations, it's time to raise the alert. Jesus gave us valuable advice for dealing with such situations. Let your speech be yes, yes, no, no, for that which passes from this is of evil origin. Matthew 5:37. Clarity and firmness in your answers are the best defenses against this type of manipulation. Manipulation doesn't just occur in personal relationships. It also manifests itself in professional and family environments. A classic example is that boss who uses promotion promises to keep the team motivated without ever doing what he says. Or the relative who always makes you feel obliged to meet his demands under the pretext of being family. In these cases, the best response is to set clear boundaries and stand firm in your convictions. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21 encourages us not to retaliate in kind, but to act with integrity and firmness. Dealing with manipulative people requires emotional balance and a lot of wisdom. It is important not to get carried away by emotional pressure or blackmail. Pray for discernment and ask God to give you the strength to stand firm in the face of difficult situations. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally. James 1:5. And if manipulation already seems like a challenge, the next sign reveals something even more destructive: the tendency to revenge. Vengeful people carry with them a burden of grudge that they hardly let go of. For them, any disagreement, no matter how small, is a reason to hold a grudge and plan a rematch. They keep a mental list of offenses and wait for the right moment to fight back. The Bible is very clear about the dangers of this behavior. Do not say, "I will avenge evil." Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you. Proverbs 20:22. Those who indulge in revenge perpetuate a cycle of pain instead of finding peace. The problem is that people like this rarely forgive. They cling to every wrong done against them, using it as a justification for future acts of retaliation. If someone acts well with them today, it does not mean that they will be safe tomorrow. The Apostle Paul exhorts us to avoid this kind of attitude. Return evil for evil to no one. Seek those things that are honest in the sight of all men. Romans 12:17. True forgiveness involves letting go of the past and moving on, but vengeful people prefer to feed resentment. This type of behavior can be devastating in relationships. Imagine a couple in which one party never forgets past mistakes, repeatedly using them to justify new conflicts. This creates an atmosphere of constant tension where trust is never fully established. Jesus gave us the ultimate example of forgiveness when he declared on the cross, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Luke 23:34. Following this example is not easy, but it is essential to break the cycle of revenge. Vengeful people also often use personal information obtained in moments of intimacy to harm others. They wait for the perfect opportunity to use this information against those who have provided it in confidence. That is why the Bible warns us. Guard your heart above all things, for out of it are the sources of life. Proverbs 4:23. Keeping your heart protected means being careful about sharing intimate details with people who engage in this type of behavior. Another notable aspect is that people with this profile tend to be narcissistic. They put their own emotions and hurts above all else, ignoring the impact their actions have on others. For them, revenge is a way to reaffirm their wounded ego. However, the Bible's wise counsel reminds us, a man's pride humbles him, but the humble in spirit obtains honor. Proverbs 29:23. True strength lies in humility, not in insistence on repaying every offense received. Finally, revenge never brings true peace. On the contrary, it generates a spiral of suffering that perpetuates itself indefinitely. People who live, trapped in the desire for revenge, end up imprisoned by their own grudge. The word teaches us a way out. Beloved, never seek revenge, but leave wrath with God, for it is written, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Romans 12:19. Trusting in divine justice is the way to free yourself from this weight. And if revenge already brings so much destruction, extreme selfishness is another sign that cannot be ignored. Extreme selfishness and self-centeredness. We all have a natural dose of concern for our own interests, but extreme selfishness goes beyond that. It destroys relationships, depletes trust, and makes the self-centered person seek only their own benefits, regardless of the impact of their actions on others. The Bible warns us about this type of behavior, for where there is envy and a selfish spirit, there is trouble and every perverse work. James 3:16. Extremely selfish people cannot celebrate the victories of others. On the contrary, they often try to diminish those who stand out, driven by envy. This kind of selfishness manifests itself clearly in situations where there is a need for reciprocity. They expect emotional, financial, and physical support, but they never reciprocate. A classic example is that friend who demands constant attention, but is never available when you need it. The Bible directs us to live in the opposite way. Do not look at what is his own, but also at what belongs to others. Philippians 2:4. Healthy relationships are built on genuine exchange, not exploitation. Selfish people also have difficulty establishing deep and sincere bonds, since they are always focused on their own needs. They value material possessions, status, and recognition above all else. However, Jesus reminds us where the true treasure should be. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy all, and where thieves break in and steal. Matthew 6:19. Material possessions may offer momentary comfort, but they are no substitute for the richness of authentic relationships. Another clear sign of extreme selfishness is the lack of initiative in relationships. These people complain that they do not receive attention, but they never make an effort to seek out or care for others. They expect to be sought out and served all the time. The Bible teaches a completely different attitude. There is greater happiness in giving than in receiving. Acts 20:35. When we understand that true value lies in serving and sharing, we can break the toxic cycle that selfishness generates. This self-centered behavior also reveals itself in the difficulty of dealing with the success of others. Selfish people, when they realize that someone has more than they do, be it love, success, or happiness, try to undermine what they cannot achieve. This generates an environment of competition and envy that harms everyone around. The Apostle Paul exhorts, "Rejoice with those who rejoice," Romans 12:15. Knowing how to rejoice in the achievements of others is a demonstration of emotional and spiritual maturity. Finally, living next to a selfish person can be emotionally draining. They suck the energy out of those around them without offering support in return. To deal with this, it is important to set clear boundaries and seek balance. The Bible encourages us, bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. Healthy relationships involve reciprocity, mutual care, and the sincere desire to see each other well. And if extreme selfishness is already exhausting, the next sign, the obsession with control, is even more challenging. Obsession with control. People obsessed with control have a constant need to dominate everything and everyone around them. For them, a relationship only works if it is under their command, and any attempt at disagreement is seen as a threat. The Bible teaches us about the importance of balance in relationships. Will two walk together unless they are in agreement? Amos 3:3. Healthy relationships cannot be emotional dictatorships. They require flexibility and mutual respect. One of the most common forms of control is constant criticism. Controlling people try to mold the other through derogatory comments, making their victims feel insufficient or guilty. They insist on imposing their will, even when they receive a no for an answer. God's word offers us wise guidance on this. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Matthew 7:1. Those who seek to control through criticism forget that each person has the right to be who they are, with their own choices and opinions. These people also have difficulty accepting the autonomy of the other. They see any independent attitude as an affront to their control. Therefore, they are always trying to manipulate decisions, either through emotional blackmail or insistence disguised as concern. Proverbs warns us, "There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is the ways of death." Proverbs 14:12. What seems right in the eyes of those who control it is not always the best path for the other. Another classic sign is the inability to deal with frustrations. When something doesn't go according to plan, they react angrily, trying to blame those who didn't submit to their control. This behavior creates a toxic environment where everyone feels pressured to take action to avoid conflict. The Bible counsels us, "Better is the long-suffering than a hero of war, and he who controls his spirit than he who conquers a city." Proverbs 16:32. True power lies in controlling yourself, not in dominating others. In love relationships, this obsession becomes even more dangerous. Controlling people often seek to eliminate any trace of individuality from their partner, trying to turn them into an extension of themselves. They do not accept differences and constantly try to change who is by their side. The word teaches us, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Healthy relationships provide freedom and growth, not emotional prison. Dealing with controlling people requires courage and determination to set limits. It is not easy to say no and stand firm in the face of pressure, but it is necessary to preserve your identity and your well-being. The Bible encourages us to be steadfast and vigilant. Be steadfast, immovable, and always abounding in the work of the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:58. By learning to deal with this type of behavior, you not only preserve your emotional health, but also demonstrate that healthy relationships are built with balance and respect. And when we manage to overcome these challenges, there is a message of hope that we must always maintain. Now that you know how to spot these signs, you only have two options. Continue to let these people drain your peace, or stop and regain control of your life. No matter how close someone is to you, whether there is manipulation, envy, and control, the best choice is to set boundaries and preserve your emotional health. Remember, God has not called us to be prisoners of guilt or fear, but to live in peace and freedom. And I ask you, what step are you going to take today? How about starting by leaving here in the comments how you deal with people like this? Sharing your experience can help others who are facing the same challenges. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. And as promised, now I want to say a special prayer for you. Close your eyes and let's together ask God for discernment, protection, and wisdom in your relationships.